Kanye didn't collapse because of one moment. He collapsed because of all of them. And maybe you know exactly what that feels like. The interviews got weird. The tweets got weirder. People watched from the sidelines just shaking their heads. But underneath the chaos was something deeper. A man who had been carrying too much for too long. And maybe you're not a billionaire celebrity, and maybe you are, but you know exactly what that feels like. But you know what it feels like to be one bad day away from a meltdown. And that's what this episode is about. Because sometimes it's not the weight itself that breaks you. It's the fact that your stress bucket is already full. And that's what happened to me just last year. I was preaching at my church, coaching clients, leading various assorted activities. My business was growing. My podcast was taking off. I was checking all the boxes. And then boom, from the outside, I looked like I had it all together. But inside, I was duct taping cracks and praying no one would notice. And all it took was one car accident. And suddenly I was hanging on by a thread. Have you ever been there? If you're a human, you probably have. Not one big crisis, just 1,000 small pressures until the last one breaks you. And that's why I'm making this episode. Not just to tell you my story, but to tell you your story. Proverbs 24:10 says, "If you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small." And that's the kind of verse that used to offend me, but now I'm able to see it as a wake-up call. Stick with me, because in the next few minutes, I want to show you why it all hits at once, and what I've learned about raising your stress threshold, and how to prepare before your next storm hits, because it will. So you don't collapse like Kanye, and so you don't implode like I almost did, because the crash is coming and there's nothing you can do about it. The only question will be, will you be ready? They say pressure reveals what's already inside, but sometimes the pressure doesn't come all at once. Sometimes it's quiet, gradual, until one small thing pushes it all over the edge. And that was me all the way back in 2016. No headlines, no paparazzi, just a man watching his life implode one blow at a time. I had just enough left to stand. But inside, I was already cracked to my core. My ex-wife was in jail. I was living in a recovery house. I was newly sober, fragile, and broke. My kids were living with my sister. My identity was shattered. And then I woke up one morning feeling like I'd been kicked in the balls, not metaphorically, physically. By nightfall, I was in the ER, doubled over from the pain of kidney stones. A man's spirit will endure sickness, but a crushed spirit who can bear? That's Proverbs 18:14. I wasn't just in physical pain, I was in soul pain. And it was that moment that made me realize your stress bucket doesn't care where the pressure comes from. It could be grief, bills, trauma, pride. It all drips into the same container. And most men never learn how to empty it until it overflows. And when it overflows, you either break or you build. Have you ever been there? Not just stressed, but overwhelmed by a pain you didn't even know how to name? Some of you are there right now. You're managing work, bills, relationships, pretending everything is okay. But deep down, you know the bucket is almost full and that you're about to crack. And that's why what came next almost destroyed me. Because a few days later, the week between Christmas and New Year's of 2016, I had to make 3 of the biggest decisions I've ever made in my life, all at the same time. I signed over the custody of my children so my sister could adopt them. I filed for divorce, and I agreed to relocate to a city I didn't know for a job I wasn't even sure that I wanted. All within a week. Most people wouldn't survive even one of those decisions, and I had to face all 3 simultaneously. And then the worst part, that Christmas day, I sat alone, my kids and family celebrating just across town, and I gave in. Not to heroin, not to methamphetamines, not to alcohol, but to numbness. I took the pain meds for my kidney stones, not because I needed them, because I didn't want to feel. And that's how so many men lose. Not in some public breakdown, but in private surrender. You don't explode. You don't go silent. You just go numb, and you pretend like you're fine. And your kids, your wife, your friends, your coworkers, they never see the storm coming until it's too late. But I had something that Kanye didn't. I had just a few guardrails, just enough. I was in a recovery house, and I had other men around me looking out for me. I was trying to read my scripture every day. I was going to meetings, and I had people checking in on me. I wasn't thriving, but I wasn't falling through the floor either. And that's what I need you to hear. You don't rise to the level of goals in crisis. You fall to the level of your habits. If your bucket is full and your floor is weak, you will break. But if your habits are strong, even when life hits all at once, you won't shatter. You will bend, but you won't break. If you don't know where to start, I made something for you. It's called the 5 Daily Habits. The same habits that helped me hold it together when I wanted to fall apart. They're simple, practical. Anyone can do them. And the best part is that they work. Check the link down in the description and download it if you're interested. Sometimes it's not a head-on collision that breaks you. It's the weight you were already carrying when it happened. That's what the car accident in the fall of 2024 felt like for me. I wasn't sleep deprived. I wasn't distracted. I was just stretched too thin. I'd been pushing hard for months, preaching at my church, coaching more clients, leading where I could, keeping up with a podcast, running side hustles, still hitting the gym twice a day for 75 hard. Everything I prayed for was coming true. But I was doing it all with a bucket that was already close to overflowing. Then that Thursday hit. I was driving home from the office, exhausted, but also wired at the same time, grateful and strained all at once. And then crash. Twisted metal, glass, time froze. Nobody was seriously hurt, and the car could be replaced. But something deeper shifted in me, because that crash wasn't the problem. It was just the final drop in the bucket. Proverbs 24:10 says, "If you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small." Again, that's another verse that would have offended me not too long ago, but now it convicts me and pushes me further. You don't wait for the day of adversity to build strength. You build it before, in the stillness, in the silence, when no one is watching. And that week I felt the old me creeping in, the voice that said, "You deserve to sleep in. Skip the gym. Grab something greasy from the fast food restaurant. You've earned it. Take your foot off the gas. Just a little bit." But that voice wasn't really rest. It was resignation. And it shifted me back to 2016 and how easy it was to fall all the way back when your floor is still soft. And that's why I didn't give in. I kept my morning routines. I moved my body. I drank water, ate as clean as I could, and reached out instead of isolating. I spent time with God, even when it felt dry. And those tiny, unglamorous habits, they caught me and kept me from falling too far. And this is what I mean when I say raise your floor. Don't just chase higher goals, build a stronger foundation. Because one day, something will go wrong. And how far you fall depends entirely on how strong your foundation is. So let me ask you one thing. Are you building your life on an Instagram highlight reel or on a spiritual, emotional, and physical disciplines that actually hold when life hits? Because listen, if a little car crash is all it takes to destroy everything you've built, then maybe what you've built just isn't as strong as you think it is. Don't wait for the crash. Start building your resilience now. Once again, I'm going to mention the 5 Daily Habit Guide that I put down in the description. It's free, and it's what keeps me anchored when everything else feels uncertain. Again, check the description. You know what I realized after the accident? It wasn't about the car. It wasn't even about the crash. It was about what I had allowed to pile up in my mind, in my spirit, and in my body. And when that last drop hit, and it all came spilling out, that bucket, it's your capacity. And here's the truth most men don't want to hear. You're not weak for feeling pressure. You're not broken for feeling overwhelmed, but you are responsible for how you prepare. Because life will not give you a warning. It will not wait for you to get your act all together before the storm hits. Jesus said in Matthew 7, "Everyone who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rains fell, the floods came, the wind blew and beat on that house, but it did not fall." Why? Because the foundation was solid. And that's why I preach discipline. That's why I talk about daily habits. That's why I keep bringing it back to structure. Not because I want you to live some legalistic, robotic life, but because I've seen what happens when you don't. You can ask Kanye. You think his collapse was just about music, or contracts, or fashion? No, it was everything, all of it, all at once. You don't have to be a celebrity to collapse. All it takes is one more thing when your structure can't hold. So here's my challenge to you. Build when it's calm. Read your Bible when it's boring. Talk to someone before you actually need help. Train your body before the diagnosis hits. Practice obedience before the crisis. Because when it hits, and it will, you won't rise to the moment. You'll fall to the level of your preparation. And listen, if your bucket's already overflowing, don't beat yourself up. Find ways to empty it. One step at a time. Talk to somebody. Get honest about where you're really at. Download my 5 daily habits and pick one. Just one. And get started. You are not too far gone. You are not too broken. But you do have a choice, and you do have to make it. The righteous falls 7 times and rises again. Proverbs 24:16. Not because they're perfect, but because they refuse to stay down. So if this hits home, don't scroll past it. Share it. Send it to a friend. Drop a comment if this reminded you of something you've been carrying. And that's it, brother. Whether you're standing strong or barely hanging on by your fingernails, you don't have to wait until it all hits at once. Start today. Raise your floor. Build your house on the solid rock. And when the storm comes, you won't just survive, you'll thrive. So if this spoke to you, don't let it just fade. Save it, share it, send it to someone who you think might need it, and start building before the next storm hits. Your habits will hold if you start today.
So if you like this content, please give it a rating, a review, and share it with your friends. Also, if you'd like to learn a little bit more about me and what I'm all about and what I can maybe do for you, check out my website at thedangerousgentleman.org. That's thedangerousgentleman.org. Thank you for listening.